It was a night unlike any other. The streets of Jerusalem were full, but inside one quiet upper room, heaven and earth were about to collide. The teacher knew his time had come. He didn't run. He didn't hide. Instead, he sat at the table, with his friends, with his betrayer, and what happened next would change history forever. This is the story of the Last Supper. The streets of Jerusalem pulsed with tension. Passover was near, and pilgrims filled the city like waves upon waves crashing against temple walls. Whispers of revolution clashed with prayers. Roman soldiers marched with watchful eyes. But in a modest upper room tucked away from the noise, a sacred plan was unfolding. Jesus, the rabbi from Galilee, walked ahead of his disciples. His steps were calm, yet each stride carried the weight of eternity. He turned to Peter and John, his trusted followers, and said, "Go into the city. There you'll find a man carrying a jar of water. Follow him. He will lead you to a house with an upper room. Tell the owner, 'The teacher asks, where is the guest room where I may eat the Passover with my disciples?' He will show you a large room, already prepared." Peter and John obeyed without question, though the strangeness of the instruction stirred silent curiosity in their hearts. As the sun dipped low, casting amber shadows through Jerusalem's stone arches, the disciples gathered in the room. The table was low, the bread was ready, the wine poured, the air was still but thick with the unknown. Then Jesus entered. His presence filled the room like light flooding a dark cave. All conversation stopped. His eyes, deep and unreadable, scanned the faces of his beloved friends, men who had walked deserts, braved storms, and witnessed miracles at his side. And yet, one of them would betray him. Jesus sat down among them. A gentle hush fell over the room, broken only by the sound of pouring wine and the rustling of robes as each man settled. The Passover meal began. Bread, bitter herbs, lamb and wine. It was tradition. But Jesus, he broke the tradition. He took the unleavened bread in his hands. His fingers trembled slightly, not from fear but from the weight of the moment. Lifting it high, he looked around the table. "This is my body, given for you," he said softly, then tore it in two. "Do this in remembrance of me." The disciples glanced at one another, confused, moved, unsure. Then he took the cup of wine. "This cup is the new covenant in my blood, which is poured out for you." The mood shifted, hearts pounded, a strange sense of farewell clung to his voice. And then, Jesus froze. He looked slowly around the table, his eyes stopped on each of them, one by one. Finally he spoke. "Truly I tell you, one of you will betray me." Gasps. Eyes widened. Voices erupted all at once. "Lord, is it I?" asked one. "Surely not me," said another. John leaned close to him, his head near Jesus' chest. Peter motioned for him to ask who he meant. Jesus whispered, "The one to whom I give this piece of bread." He dipped the bread into the dish and handed it to Judas Iscariot. A hush fell again. Judas took the bread. Their eyes met. Fire met ice. Jesus leaned in. "What you are about to do, do quickly." Judas stood. The others didn't understand. Some thought Jesus was sending him on an errand, but something inside them knew, something sacred had cracked. Judas walked out. The door closed behind him. The night swallowed him whole. And it was night. The door had shut behind Judas, and the air was colder somehow. The remaining 11 sat with unease in their hearts. Jesus, however, remained calm, grieved, yes, but undisturbed. He rose quietly from the table. Without a word he removed his outer garment. He wrapped a towel around his waist like a servant. The disciples watched, stunned. Then the Son of God knelt. One by one he washed their feet, dusty, calloused, undeserving feet. Peter, ever passionate, recoiled. "Lord, you shall never wash my feet." Jesus looked at him and said, "Unless I wash you, you have no part with me." Peter broke. "Then not just my feet, but my hands and my head as well." As Jesus knelt before each man, it wasn't just water that touched them, it was love, pure and humbling. The Creator of the stars stooped to serve His creation. He dried their feet with a towel, then stood. "Do you understand what I have done for you?" He asked. "You call me teacher and Lord, and rightly so. Now that I, your Lord, have washed your feet, you also should wash one another's feet. I have set you an example." The room pulsed with silence and awe. Then He looked at them, not just with affection, but with a burden. "Time was short. A new command I give you, love one another. As I have loved you, so you must love one another." And He prayed. He lifted His eyes to heaven and prayed, not for Himself alone, but for them, and for all who would come to believe. He prayed for unity, for strength, for the Father's will to be done. His voice trembled with passion, His heart poured into the words. Then He ended the prayer. The Passover meal was over. The Last Supper had been eaten. Jesus rose from the table, and with Him the 11. No one knew exactly what was coming, but they followed, down the steps, into the streets, and toward the garden called Gethsemane. The hour had come, and thus ended the Last Supper, not with fanfare, but with foot-washing, bread broken, betrayal, and a prayer. In a single evening, love and destiny shared the same table.